Welcome back to the Realty Funnels podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Cahill. And with me, continuing the conversation, is Paul Salter. Paul is a high performance hypnotherapist. He helps high performing individuals achieve at even higher levels by solving those challenges that are taking place in those 6 inches between the ears. Paul, welcome back to the Realty Funnels podcast.
Kevin, it's an absolute pleasure. Excited to run it back. We had such a great round the first time. Let's do it.
Wonderful. Thank you again for being back with us. So let's continue on the conversation. I find it fascinating that many people have whatever is holding them back and they hold on to it because that's the thing that they talk about. That's the thing that they identify. Whether it be an illness or a pain or a victimization or an unfair circumstance, they talk about it, they focus on it, they tell all their friends about it. This is what they've been talking about. If they let that go, who are they?
Yes. Spot on.
And they have to just let that go because that's not why God put them on the earth. That's not who they're meant to be. That's not the defining moment. You know, I love the book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. I want to say that one of the first ones is begin with the end in mind. Mm-hmm. And the notion of, okay, it's your funeral. You've got some people speaking their eulogies over you. Are they going to talk about your rheumatoid arthritis? Are they going to talk about how you were hurt in that car accident? Are they going to talk about how that boss treated them unfairly? I mean, no one is thinking that that's their eulogy. And yet they're living their life as though this is their identity. How do you help people let that stuff go?
Yeah. So Ed Milet, great podcaster, author, he has this concept that I think does a really good job illustrating this point, and he calls it your emotional home. And what he means by this concept is every single one of us has 3, maybe 4, 5 emotions that we experienced so much in our younger years, they feel familiar. Therefore, remember, familiarity, predictability, and certainty create a sense of safety. Your subconscious is designed to keep you safe above all and any other priorities. So you continue to go through life trying to get your fix of those emotions. Let's share a relatable example. You grow up working with a single mother. Mom works 2 to 3 jobs at a time. Money's always tight. There's never enough. Rich people or wealthy people are jerks. The constant undercurrent of emotion present in your household is scarcity, is anxiety, and is anger. So your life will continue to perpetuate a pattern of experience and the circumstances that help you get your fix of scarcity, anxiety, and anger because they are familiar. And guess what? The even more sickening part of this is your subconscious will continue to put you in situations, even though they cause so much stress, angst, and anger, because it knows you'll survive them. You've already survived them before. And it's just a pattern that plays on repeat over and over. So where we have to go back to is understanding, where did you absorb these emotions from? If you had to answer right now as a listener, what are your default emotions that reside in your emotional home? You can get a lot of information from there. And actually, Kevin, one of the exercises I have my clients do is I have them set 5 evenly spaced alarms throughout the day, open their notes app every time their alarm goes off, and answer this simple question: what am I feeling right now? And I give them an emotional cheat sheet, so it doesn't just come out as good, bad, fine, okay. I want to expand their emotional vocabulary. And then shout out, this is an exercise I actually took from one of my coaches long ago, but it starts to bring awareness to the pattern, the common emotions. Maybe it's angst, anxiety, frustration, resentment, bitterness. And that is data. It creates an opportunity to learn. What does that data tell us? It tells us a story, and that story will lead us through the doorway of where we need to go to begin diffusing and letting go of that emotion and using it to build an identity built on emotions that help you move in the direction you desire.
I think it's so important that people recognize the story that they're telling themselves, the story that they're putting out there in the world. It's sort of like the song that is continuously playing in their mind,
Yeah.
and they become very familiar with that tune, and they know the tune and they can hum along and they know how it goes. And so there's very little surprise that they have this tune in their head, which is anxiety. So they just stay familiar with it. And then later on, when they're having this type of possibility mindset, they they say to themselves, well, I'm not familiar with that song. I don't know how that one's going to play. I better just go back to my anxiety song because I at least know how that plays.
Yeah.
So
And,
tell me,
actually, I read something this morning, which is funny timing. Stop listening to yourself, start talking to yourself.
hmm,
That song has been playing for so long. It's normal to listen, but what if you began to sing a different tune? What if you began to hum a different melody? Could you get on board with that?
let's talk a little bit about environment,
Mm,
the people that you're around, the circumstances that you find yourself in, the habits that you have throughout your day. My belief and my company, before I merged it into EXP Realty in 2023, it was called Real Lean Real Estate. And our logo was this circle with 5 arrows going around it. And the top of it is that your environment impacts your thoughts. Your
mm,
thoughts impact your feelings. Your feelings impact your actions. Your actions impact your results. Your results impact your environment for good or for bad. So I always
mm,
like to focus on the notion of how, if you're in a good environment where people are encouraging you, where they're creating opportunities for you and helping you find the resources that you need, you're going to then have thoughts of, this seems interesting. I bet I could probably accomplish this. And then it's going to give you feelings of, I'm excited. I am energized. I'm going to take action. And then you take action and you take bold
mm,
action and you take big action and you continuously take action. And then you get these wonderful results. And those wonderful results can finance and fund a better environment where even more
mhm.
opportunities,
Yeah.
or the reverse is equally true.
I
What do
love
you
that framework.
It's something I picked up 20 some odd years ago, and it has never really left my day-to-day thinking. And I find myself, if I'm in a place where intellectually I'm frustrated, I'll go for a walk. I'll
Mhm.
change the music that's playing on Pandora throughout my home. I'll do something to change my environment because I may not be able to just power through whatever negative little thing I just thought.
Mhm.
Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night with just some weird notion in a dream, and I try to just fall back asleep and I can't. So I'll get up, just go to the bathroom, drink some water. The thought evaporates. I can go back to bed. But
Mhm.
if I sit there, I'm going to be just sitting there for 25 minutes, not being able to fall back asleep because that stupid thing. So sometimes you have to do stuff about that to impact your environment.
Yeah, and candidly, I wish I had some earth-shattering answer, but I wholeheartedly agree. Your environment is everything, and really, I'll go one step deeper. Is the energy. Again, we're all energy. And this is a bit more woo woo than most of you are probably accustomed to hearing, but like literally, the physics, the science shows us we are all energy. So if you surround yourself with low energy people who procrastinate, put off, don't really show commitment towards their goals, you begin to vibe at that energetic frequency. And before you know it, you are one of the procrastinators putting off your goals and sitting there reminiscing with old buddies about what it was like to play football in high school rather than taking action to build your dream life. When you surround yourself with those high energy individuals who are constantly taking big action, having big dreams, and openly sharing them, that can be inspiring. That can be motivated. You can pick up on that energy and suddenly leverage the energy of others to get yourself going in the right direction. And then, as you mentioned, that fosters into your thoughts, your actions, your reality, and that ultimately shapes your identity.
And I think it all starts, I'd love your thoughts on this, but I think it all starts with just an honest analysis of where am I really? Honestly, where am I at this moment? I mean, if you're a poker player and you're, you know, down, you're going to say to yourself, okay, I've got X number of dollars that I'm willing to play tonight. Where am I? How do I play this hand? If you're a golfer, you know, you're saying to yourself, all right, I'm on the 14th. I'm 3 strokes off of my playing partner and I've got, 4 holes left to play. I've got to figure this out. It's surprising, not surprising any longer, but I mean, it was surprising to me when I first got into coaching real estate agents that I would ask them, tell me a little bit about your business. And they would typically say, oh, I pretty much do X. They always refer back to the best year they ever had selling real estate.
Hmm.
And I said, well, how much did you earn in the last 12 months? They don't necessarily want to acknowledge that the last 12 months weren't their best 12 months. They want to continuously identify with the best that they ever did. And I like that they want to identify at a high level, but I want them to be honest about where they are right this minute so that they can actually burst past that to a new high level.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it all starts with this honest analysis of where are we? Situational awareness.
Yeah, coming back to what we kind of kicked this conversation off with, those core fears of judgment, abandonment, rejection, we're hardwired to care what other people think. So in that example, that person maybe felt that he or she might be judged by you or feel embarrassed if they had to admit their low income that year. So they're quick to go to that one year that was really, really great. So many of us, and I was guilty of this for the longest time, play small, don't honestly, openly express what we want and why we want it. As we play small, we dim our light, we diminish our power because we don't want to be rejected. We don't want to be put in a position where we could potentially fail because then we'd be judged and ultimately maybe abandoned. So it's almost as if we've been conditioned to play small, therefore not be honest with what we want, who we are, where we want to go. And that really just perpetuates even greater problems under the surface.
I think that the faster someone can get real about where they are, the faster they can find that breakthrough, the faster they can avail themselves to the help that they need, the faster they can really rewire things, get things to a more solid foundation and build from there to really achieve at the level that they'd really desire to achieve.
Absolutely. And I love that the theme of this conversation, one of them has been clarity and honesty, because again, when you're clear on what you want, suddenly the universe, it seems, starts to work with you to conspire to bring it to fruition.
One of the things I remember in coaching real estate agents was when I was talking with them about what is it you want to achieve? What is your goal? And then eventually we'd break it down to, okay, what do you want to earn in the next 12 months? Because these are all business people. They're independent contractors. They run their own business. They have no limits. They have no ceiling on what they can accomplish. And what's fascinating is that once they recognize what those typical conversion metrics might be. And, of course, if you're playing golf, you're looking at different types of ways in which you look at a golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And my father, who was a caddy on the PGA Tour, and he played college golf at Ohio State. And, I played a little bit of golf. I'm not anywhere near as good as my father or a couple of my uncles who are club pros. They look at the game of golf, and it's a great analogy for life, but they look at it as a series of challenges, and they have a tool bag, a bag of tools that they can use to overcome those challenges. And I simply look at a career in real estate as, okay, you want to achieve X. In order for you to achieve X, you're going to need to do Y. In order for you to achieve Y, you're going to need to set aside Z hours per week.
Yeah.
And if you do X, Y, and Z in the right order and to the right amount, it's almost inevitable that you will achieve your goals regardless of the market, regardless of interest rates, regardless of buyer and seller sentiment, regardless of
Mhm.
anything that's going on in any world news. But you have to make that happen.
Mhm. And knowing that, as we've demonstrated and we both know to be true, is still not enough. You have to lean into, I tell my clients all the time, problems are going to occur, some of which you expect, some of which you don't expect. Let's proactively problem solve as much as possible so that when we're scaling our real estate business or when we're trying to win the golf tournament or take our business to the next level, we already know we're bound to come up into friction or resistance in this place, this place, and this place. Okay, instead of reacting emotionally charged in the moment, if we have a plan created ahead of time, we can calmly respond, keep our rational brain online, and continue to make diligent, clear headed decisions to weather the storm.
Paul, this is so fascinating, and I could already tell you and I could just have a great conversation for hours and hours
Yeah.
on end. I want to give everyone an opportunity to connect with you. What are some of the best ways for people to learn more about you and figure out how they can just pull some more knowledge out of what you've already put out there?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you so much for the phenomenal conversation. I also thoroughly enjoyed it. We'll have to do it again. The best place, if you've enjoyed this conversation, which Kevin did a phenomenal job facilitating, I also have a podcast. It's called the Scratch Golfers Mindset Podcast. It's a personal development podcast disguised as a golf mindset podcast. You don't have to be a golfer to find immense value in it. And then otherwise, you can learn more about me, my coaching at thegolfhypnotherapist.com or at the golf hypnotherapist on Instagram.
And I noticed that you put out a newsletter as well, that you have some resources. How often do you put out that newsletter?
Yeah, every Friday morning at 6 a.m., you'll receive a combination of just maybe a simple email with some actionable items or a full blown newsletter article, however you want to describe it. That's going to really go deep on a topic designed to help you level up in some capacity.
So people can grab that off of your website?
Bingo, you are correct. Thank you for bringing that up.
Great. So they can go to thegolfhypnotherapist.com/newsletter to subscribe. They just probably fill out a form and they're on your email list. They're going to start getting
Name and
that every
email.
Friday.
Yeah.
This has been such a great conversation. I'm so thankful for this opportunity, Paul, to connect with you, to learn more about what you do. I think it's valuable and important work because ultimately it's the one thing that we can control. It's how we perceive what is happening around us and how we then respond to what is happening around us.
Bingo. That respond word is so crucial. It's the upgrade from reaction. Responsiveness exudes patience, calm, deliberateness.
I love how Stephen Covey in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, one of my favorite books, he talks about, and also Jack Canfield in his book, The Success Principles, he talks about
Mhm.
this as well. But Stephen Covey says that we are responsible. So he uses it as
Mm.
a double entendre.
Yeah.
I'm the only one responsible for my success in life. I'm not going to blame anybody else. I'm not going to blame the
Mhm.
economy, but I'm also able to choose my response to what happens. And Jack Canfield, he would say that I think it's event plus response equals outcome. So
Mm.
E plus R equals O. Event. So the event happened,
Mhm.
but then my response to it is either I blow a gasket and make it worse, or
Yeah.
I just slow down and I say to myself, huh, how about that? What can we do
Yeah.
about this?
Mhm.
And then the outcome can be diametrically different simply based on my ability to choose my response.
Well said. I like that a lot.
Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. I'm so thankful. Paul Salter, high performance hypnotherapist. Please come back another time. I'd love to have another conversation with you.
Yeah, I absolutely will. I really appreciate the opportunity and thank you for the fantastic questions.